Okay, everybody. Here is how you're going to do your practice applying sequence notation problems in your workbook exercise for 1.5. So what you see up here is two different tables. This is very similar. This is not the same thing, but is very similar to what you guys are going to be looking at on that 1.5 workbook page. Okay. So it says here, what is the common difference of the sequence x sub n? That's how it's read, x sub n. So this is x sub n right here. So if you look at that, that's x sub n. So the common difference, we'll notate that by saying d. So d equals basically just the difference between the numbers. Okay, so what do you do to get from 12 to 26? You add 14. What do you do to get from 26 to 40? You add 14. So the common difference is 14. Next question down here, this one also deals with x sub n. What this says is, what is x sub 7? Okay, so whenever you are trying to find out what the value of a term is that's within a sequence of numbers, and that sequence of numbers does not happen to be on the table, then what you have to do is you have to start with a number that you know. Okay, so you're going to start with a number that you know, and that number that I know here, I'm just going to start with 40. So I know that the fourth term, the value of it is 40. So what I'm going to do from there is add 14 for the number of times it's going to take me to get to that seventh term. All right, so if I were to continue this pattern on, I would have to add 14 for the fifth term, add another 14 for the sixth term, and add another 14 for the seventh term. And so therefore, when I add these all up right here, we're going to get 40 plus 14 plus 14 plus 14, and that's going to give me 82. Right? So these 14s are the common difference. That's the common difference. Right? And we're doing that, we're adding it up 3 times. Well, that's what we call repeated addition. So in this next example over here, I'm going to talk to you about finding x sub 11. Okay, so if I'm finding x sub 11, now I'm going to do it a little bit more. Instead of repeated addition, I'm going to use multiplication, because what I can do is I can say that if I multiply something by a certain number of times, then it's the same thing as repeatedly adding that the same number of times. Okay, so if I say x sub 11, it's going to equal some term that I already know. Well, what I did here is I took this term. I already know this term. I know that the seventh term is 82. Okay, so I'm going to write 82 right here. And then I'm going to say plus 14 times, how many times am I going to have to repeat that or add that up? Well, what I have to do is I have to take the 11th term and subtract 7 from 7, which is the number that I know. So this is the number that I know. This is the number that I'm trying to find out. This is the what we call the ordinal value, or the sequence number. So I take 11 and I subtract 7 and I get 4. All right. So it's 82 plus 14, which is my common difference, times 4, which is the number of times that I have to repeat that addition. Okay. So I multiply 14 times 4 and I add that to 82 and I get 138. Okay. All right. So moving down to this one, it's the same setup. The only issue is that we're subtracting 11 from each one. So my common